Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, I posted a video the other day which got a ton of views. I mean, it was just incredible. And I really think what made that video so popular was the title. It was titled, Your Brain on MSNBC. And it's this thing that I keep mentioning in all of my videos. Your brain on CNN, your brain on MSNBC. Well, man, do I have an example of your brain on MSNBC today. Folks, it's not an exaggeration when I say that these people are going crazy, when they're losing their minds. I mean, at this point, I think the newest iteration of the DSM should have Trump derangement syndrome actually listed as a mental illness. And no, I'm not memeing, I'm not trolling, I am being 100% serious. And it's all just so laughable because as the media continues to point at you, at regular conservative folk, and continues to say, well, you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy, they're literally sharing a political space in an ideological place with people who are so insanely unhinged it's not even funny. That's not to say that there's not crazies on the Republican side. Of course they exist. There's a whole lot of kooky conspiracy theorists and people with some pretty bad views. But for the most part, they're an extreme minority and they don't even come close to representing the mainstream of the political party. Most conservative people are just moms and dads and regular people going to work every day and going to church on Sunday, taking their kids to baseball practice or whatever it is. Regular people. But the crazies on the Democrat side are so prevalent. There's so many of them. A direct one-to-one comparison with many left-wing mainstream media figures and even top politicians. And man, do we have a complete meltdown today, with two lefty activists starting a counter-protest, continuing to give us real-world examples of Trump derangement syndrome, or better yet, your brain on MSNBC. Let me show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Let's take a look at this viral video. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so here's the headline from Gateway Pundit. Disgusting. Crazed leftists descend on Ashley Babbitt's mother's rally outside DC Gitmo and scream, quote, Ashley deserved to lose her life, F your Jesus. Folks, take a look at this. I'm not going to be able to show you guys all the worst parts. I'll show you this one and we'll probably censor some of the bad words. But just take a look at the tone and take a look at the craziness.
Lord, oh, keep it. Father of two and father of three, of which is never met. Can't wait to get home to his horses. He's tall and he's tough. A great smile. He can down an elk from outside a mile. Kelly. How are you doing?
We have a little bit of protesters out here yelling ugly shit. They don't have a hard time out in their face. But other than that, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, well, we just want to
Hey, that's a threat. That's a threat. She just said she's gonna die. She said you're gonna die.
The constant support that you guys
That's a threat.
especially people like
Hey,
me,
she just said she's gonna die. That's a threat.
Julie Valley is going to be here all the time supporting us, and just we just want you to know that we thank you guys all the time. We just appreciate it.
They've lost it. They've absolutely lost it. Remember all those years ago when the NPC meme was popularized and leftists were making a huge deal out of it? They were saying that the NPC meme dehumanizes them. Well, I mean, talk about dehumanizing someone. The mainstream leftist position on conservatives is dehumanization through total demonization. And that's what I mean by the craziness goes from top to bottom, bottom to top. It's not just these crazed leftist lunatics on the streets saying absolutely vile things to conservatives. You hear the exact same kinds of things on CNN and MSNBC constantly. In fact, they're merely regurgitating the rhetoric. My insurrectionist, my Proud Boys, white nationalist, right-wing alt-right extremist. Total sweeping generalizations and slanderous attacks constantly. This was a very peaceful protest organized by Ashley Babbitt's mother. Everybody there was just a regular, normal, run-of-the-mill American. And yet the leftist rhetoric about them and what those two individuals were yelling was associating them with right-wing extremism and the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys are like five guys. Yet of course, all conservatives get hit with that label. They get targeted and smeared and their identities slandered. And it happens across the board by all of these crazy leftists and Democrats. They're all pushing the same rhetoric, the same talking points, the same political attacks. It's not just left-wing crazies on the streets who are harassing and attacking people constantly. It's the entire machine, and that's why a well, both sides argument doesn't land here. Oh, but there's crazy left-wingers. Oh, but there's also crazy right-wingers. Yeah, but name a single time you saw right-wingers doing this stuff in the streets. Does it happen? Sometimes. I don't have too many examples off the top of my head because it's so rare. When it comes to leftist harassment, it's non-stop. When it comes to leftist threats of violence, it's non-stop. When it comes to extreme rhetoric from these left-wingers, it is non-stop. It's everywhere. Whenever they don't get what they want, they say the most vile, hateful, violent things you could possibly imagine. That doesn't exist in the same way on the other side. That is just a fact. Throughout the entirety of the pandemic, whenever a conservative, public figure, celebrity, or politician lost their lives tragically, as conservatives mourn the loss of life, Democrats celebrate it. Democrats celebrated when Rand Paul was assaulted by his neighbor. And now here are Democrats celebrating the loss of Ashley Babbitt's life in front of her own mother. That is vile. That is extreme. That is crazy, especially when you think about the context. Ashley Babbitt was an unarmed protester. She tried crawling through a window. Was that maybe a bad idea? Sure. But she was met with deadly force. Was she directly threatening a police officer or a Capitol police officer's life? No. She was crawling through a window, and frankly, she was taken down like an animal, as if her life didn't matter. Could you imagine if that happened during a Black Lives Matter protest, with an unarmed leftist activist trying to crawl through a window, and a police officer or possibly a Capitol police officer took that drastic action? What do you think leftists would be saying? We wouldn't stop hearing about it. But when it comes to Ashley Babbitt, they celebrate it. It's not a both sides issue, folks. It really isn't. Here's another example. When is the last time you heard a leftist being doxxed? When is the last time there was a massive conservative conspiracy with bad actors, extremist groups, doxing and swatting left-wing politicians, thought leaders, public figures? When's the last time that happened? Again, I can't name a single moment. Tim Pool got swatted like 15 times in a row. They even did it to sitting Supreme Court justices. And now we're getting information that Marjorie Taylor Greene, a sitting US Congresswoman, has been doxxed and swatted by left-wing terrorist actors 3 individual times in recent weeks. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene voicing her frustration.
Can you believe, Brian, that someone wants to kill me because I want to protect kids from a surgery that permanently changes them for the rest of their lives? Hysterectomies where they can't have children, castration where they can't have children, double mastectomies that scar them for life, hormone therapies that will change a young teenage girl's voice to sound like a man and it can never change back, puberty blockers for 11-year-old little boys that is like chemical castration, the same drugs they will give to sex offenders, chemical castration that will hurt them for the rest of their life, hurts their bone density, has all kinds of side effects. Someone wanted to have me killed, wanted to have the police murder me because I'm trying to protect kids.
And I think she really puts it into perspective. You know, Marjorie Taylor Greene is very often viewed and lambasted as the most extreme of the conservative movement. But really, what of what she's saying is extreme? Those are her beliefs. And if you actually pay attention to what she's talking about and do some research into what these medical procedures are, frankly, it's completely shocking that half of them, if not all of them, are even legal in the first place, especially for minors. I mean, she has the right to voice those opinions. That's not extremism. You know what is extremist? You know what is crazy? Calling her local police department with some fake story of violent acts going on in her home in the hopes that a SWAT force is going to siege her home and possibly lead to her being hurt. That's extremism. That's crazy. And that is, again, something that isn't just part of the fringes of the Democrat Party. This is something that is enabled from top down. Democrats say silence is violence. Yeah, well, in this case, it really is. Because we have yet to see any Democrats condemn the constant doxing and swatting and intimidation of right-wing figures. That really is silence being violence. That individual who showed up outside of Justice Kavanaugh's home, that showed up with the intent to do harm to Justice Kavanaugh and his family, Joe Biden has yet to condemn it. You can sense the frustration in my voice, but I feel like it's warranted. And now while we keep hearing from the White House is just how extreme MAGA Republicans are.
You know, the president has been really clear that congressional Republicans, that extreme MAGA agenda that you heard him talk about last week is a threat to the rule of law.
Here's Florida Democrat Charlie Crist saying the same thing.
What do you think about the president calling millions of Americans semi-fascist?
Listen, he's got to express and be honest about what he feels in his heart and his soul. And I think that's probably exactly what he did.
oh, semi-fascists, alt-right, blah, blah, blah. It's nothing but these stupid labels being attached to conservatives all the time. But it's garbage. It's bogus. And of course, it's clear projection. They say that you're a fascist and your leaders are fascists, as they literally try to attack people for having different opinions. They try to shut people down and control your speech. After everything that happened during the pandemic, they have the audacity to say that the Republican Party and Republican leadership is fascist. You're out of your mind. Oh, these MAGA terrorists, insurrectionists, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, their crazy voters are constantly involved in violent acts of intimidation, arson, and even homicide on the streets, and they can't even condemn it. And it goes top down, and this rhetoric is what enables and starts it all. Conservatives are saying leftists have bad ideas. You guys are fiscally irresponsible. Your culture war, social Marxist, intersectionality, feminist stuff is stupid and it's bad for society. That's what conservatives are saying, that your ideas are dumb and you're a little crazy. Meanwhile, leftists are saying right-wingers are fascists. They're trying to commit violence and genocide and plunge America into straight-up authoritarianism. Their rhetoric is hyperbolic, it's crazy, it's slanderous, it's just out of this world nuts, and it leads to the divisive nature that we are seeing in current day politics. It's used as a justification for unstable individuals to commit acts of violence and to do this kind of thing that we see on the streets. And that's what I mean by it's a false comparison. There's no, oh, I'm a moderate centrist and both sides are bad. Yes, bad exists on both sides. But one side, it's a fringe little corner element that honestly doesn't even exist. It's just something that leftists point to and try to label everybody else as. On the leftist side, it's mainstream. It's across the board. In fact, the White House is now using these slanderous label tactics to attack conservatives as fascists and extreme and crazy. They're using the left-wing craziness on a mainstream level all the way at the White House. And so it's not a fair comparison. It's not a both sides issue. It's a clear Democrat issue. It's infected the left and it's spread to the entire body. At least, that's my opinion. That's also what I got for you guys though. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to this channel if you guys are up for joining the community. I'm gonna get back to work though. Thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next one.